Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Truth Apologetics for my first video. I'm going to call this series A Conversation with an Atheist. This is inspired by a conversation that I've been trying to have with a lady named Madan, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. Uh, and it started because she and I were just kind of going back and forth discussing the existence of God. We were going kind of into morality, whether that's subjective, objective, relative. Um, and she decided to get onto my own personal YouTube page and um, tell me that I was removing my comments from the thing that we were talking about, and I was not for sure removing my comments. So I'm just kind of using this as proof to show you screenshot wise what it is that I was doing and what I had been responding to. I know sometimes on YouTube I've posted comments to people and they have appeared as if they showed up on my end, but they were not received on another person's end. So I just want to make sure to clear the air on that, and I think this is a really good conversation to have anyway, so you guys can see here what she was saying, how disappointing it was for me to remove every one of my comments from the Atheist Teacher Dies and Sees Whatever thread. And you run an apologetics ministry. Well, right now, madam, I don't run an apologetics ministry. I am just getting started. This is my second video. So what's interesting is nothing frightened me. I am reading this and I'm putting into context that perhaps you thought you posted something and maybe it showed up on your end, but I have not seen any post about William Lane Craig or him being a fraud. So the absolute gibberish that I brought lock, stock, and barrel. So she's mocking me, obviously. You do realize that you are a coward, don't you? I don't realize that I am a coward, at least not in this situation. I've been afraid before. But right now I'm really honestly not afraid. That's why I'm making this video. And that my apologetics ministry cannot handle simple logic. I'm unaware of what you're talking about. In fact, I believe that the logic you are using is flawed, and I'm entitled to my opinion and you yours. So that's why we were having conversation, going back and forth, trying to define terms of that. She was really having fun with me too, and in fact I was actually having a little bit of fun too. I really do enjoy conversations with people who see things a little bit differently than I do, but I would love to come back for another beating, because she will always be here, at least for the foreseeable future, so I appreciate that, I really do. Um, but her advice, I need to tighten up my ship. Thank you for taking the time to find my channel, post on my only video, and mock me, but then give me advice. I really do appreciate that, and hopefully it makes my ministry and time here on YouTube a little bit more beneficial. Your apologetics ministry is about as seaworthy as a good ship minnow there, Gilligan. Well, thank you. Gilligan's Island was one of my favorite shows, so I really appreciate that. All right, so I just, as proof, I want to show that this is what I'm seeing. So on the reply that you're talking about over here on this is what I see. I see that you said, gravity is a factual, not a true. A fact is a state of affairs, blah, blah, blah. So you said all that. I replied to you, and I'm not sure that you got that reply, where I said, facts and truth. I'm afraid you're playing games here. So that was my reply. And then you can see just below that, the very next post that I'm able to see is that. So that is not me hiding from you. If you did post something, it's not on here. And as you can see, maybe you didn't receive this this one up there with me saying facts and truth. Maybe you didn't perhaps see that one. And also, by the way, I replied to you on my channel saying that if you do have any questions or you'd like to tell me something, that you could definitely reach out to me via email. So I'd be very happy to take yours or anyone else's email. If it's sometimes posting links and things makes someone's video not be able to, or their comment not to be able to be posted. So I'd be more than happy to take your links that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and read through what it is that you said 2 days ago, as of today, 2 days ago, that you said gravity is factual. It is not true. A fact is a state of affair that can be observed, quantified, measured, studied, and by many people at the same time. They are certain to reach conclusions that are similar or in the ballpark of what I myself can observe. No matter who observes gravity, indeed there must be the same conclusion. Is morality the same for everyone you meet? Would all agree that capital punishment is moral? Clearly not. You are comparing facts to truths, and these are not synonyms. I was once a witness at a trial of a man accused of pedophilia, and I had observed behavior that I considered not conducive to a wholesome atmosphere at home. I was asked to tell the truth during my swearing in, and I told them that I could not. I told them that the truth is a philosophical construct and that I could only relate facts with as much accuracy as I was consistent with my recall. This was acceptable. Cool. Number 2 point that you have to make. I have no idea why we believe that atheists have no moral principles. And what is more, I will state for the 3rd time that a moral act is that which allows a human being the most individual freedom while doing the least harm. I do not know how to put it any simpler than that. To say that an atheist do not care about whether murder is moral or not is ridiculous. We simply do not require an invisible sky daddy to tell us it is not conducive to harmonious group exercise. Or existence, sorry, I apologize. Number 3, you said the universe is not fine-tuned, and the more we know about it, the more we realize that the planet we live on is hardly a rare type of planet. And then you provide me a link. Let me go to the next thing. You share the link, and then you say, when you use the adjective fine-tuned, you do so without illustrating fine-tune as compared to what? It took the Earth billions of years of sterility to be able to support life. If that is your God's doing, there is a case for his being tone-deaf. Without spaceless, timeless, immaterial, and unembodied mind, the universe, point 4, without all that stuff, the universe could not have began, nor could the fine-tuning of it allow for such practices like the use of logic, scientific method. So she's quoting what I had said earlier. Oh, good. Then you can show me, can you not? Yet, sadly, aside from the old Bronze Age book, you have no evidence of his existence. God, I assume. If you are so keen to use logic, then you must realize that a statement is not proof. And that is all you have given me is a statement. Why a god? Why not gods? Why not pixie or disembodied spirits from an alternative universe? You could produce no reasonable case for a god, save that you think there should be one. And you have no definition of a god. You are going to have to show me how you got from invisible spirit that no one can see or hear to scientific method. I have no idea what prompted the beginning of the universe, but I cannot point to any being that I cannot prove exist or attribute any action to this being. That is not logical by any standards. Thank you. Point number 5. I agree that humans can be held accountable as they possess free will. However, we can hold children mentally handicapped and the vulnerable, the aged, to a different standard. I will not discuss the garden myth as anything but a myth, but I will certainly point out that a human being is the product of his or her environment in an environment where one cannot learn by one's own mistakes. As children do, then all you will produce is criminals. Okay, so, right. No other definition exists for those whose inexperience, innocence, or childish curiosity impedes us to experiment. To punish the entire human race for an action of 2 individuals is psychotic. And to not remove the source of evil is, I'm not even sure that word. You use a bigger word than I know. Symbolic. Your God is not very impressive, all told. Righteousness and holiness. You mean like a father who moves in next to a genius-level pedophile, never tells his children about him, and then punishes the children when they are seduced, never destroying the pedophile's ability to not hurt other people's children. Righteous and holy. No, not at all. Cruel and sadistic, perhaps. Point number 6. She's laughing out loud quite a few times there. Love for humanity? Do you really think so? If Jesus was present at the creation of the world, then he sacrificed himself to remove the curse that himself put on the human race. Um, and that is just as insane as it sounds. But Jeffrey did not, with complete foreknowledge, create his own powerful adversary just to allow him to torment his children. Jeffrey has better things to do. Number 7. I would appreciate if you kept the discussion rational. Do you not attempt to proselytize me? It only took me 4 years of Dallas Theological Seminary to make a good atheist of me. I reject your God, and I reject that horrific B word, love me, or I was gonna send your booty to hell forever. I don't know, maybe that was too southern. Because you say that it sounds like a cracked up Detroit pimp. Great, apparently that's how Detroit pimps talk. Any God who could ever contemplate punishing his soul for eternity is a sadistic monster, and the only object of punishment is correction. Okay, so thank you for your opinion. And to finalize what it is that you said, let's see, with no correction. So let me just reread this sentence. Any God who could even contemplate punishing his soul for eternity is a sadistic monster. The only object of punishment is correction. Punishment with no correction in sight is vengeance. I could never love such a blood-addicted monster. And don't try the cowardly, but God doesn't send you to hell. You send yourself to hell. Okay, keep that in mind, by the way. Did I mention my uncle Laszlo? He was a Seventh-day Adventist minister in Hungary in 1956. He was given the same line as your God give me. Comrade, I don't use the accent, the law was made for you to obey, so it is your only fault that you suffer. So he was strapped to a metallic bed frame and shocked repeatedly with a car battery. His burns were so bad that the metal screw imprint remained on his skin, and his eyes bled until he was blind. For believing differently than the Soviet Allied government of Hungary. Believe in me, love me, or I'll torture you forever. That's your God to me. And you can keep him. He has nothing but my contempt, my hatred, my scorn, and if he did exist, I would jump into hell myself rather than to live in heaven with your monster God. Thank you for that, Madame. Let's go ahead and pay attention to my rebuttal, my reply. I don't think that you saw this. So just going back up to what it was you said. So facts and truth was your first point, and I'm afraid you're playing games here. Is a fact not true? Facts are true and not false. Fact equals true. 2 plus 2 equals 4. True or false? Fact or fiction. Okay, so sure, gravity can be observed by basically anyone. But what about black holes, dark matter, and quantum entanglement? And even still, according to your own theory, we can observe most humans acting morally and have a really good consensus about what is right and wrong, which I think is how you're using the word morality. Atheists can be moral and use morality. I haven't said anything remotely opposing that in any way. I apologize if you think that is what I meant. Everyone has a sense of morality. That I am not arguing. What atheists can't have, according to their perspective, is objective morality. What you can assert is subjective morality relative to your correct culture or current culture and your internal subjective moral compass. Okay? So morality doesn't require a sky daddy. However, objective morality does. I find it absurd that you call God a unicorn or a sky daddy. You're just hilarious. Yet you cannot provide any evidence or proof for an objective morality, and yet you believe in morals. That is a strange faith. It seems like special pleading to me. So hopefully you see what I'm trying to point out here. You're upset with theists for believing in a God that we consider to be objective, and yet you are basically saying there is proof or evidence of morality that we all should abide by. And really, there's no proof of that. It's just a strange faith that you're having in that particular sense that you're finding to be ridiculous in the theist sense. So, interesting. So I'm very curious about your ability to understand the different rationales and arguments for God's existence. So for being such an outspoken atheist, you really don't seem to understand the logical arguments used by theists. I really recommend using the Google search on that. Maybe you slept through the 4 years of when you allegedly attended the Dallas Theological Seminar. The fine-tuning of the universe is the full name of the logical theory. And it's not just for Earth, which I presume is what you falsely assumed I meant. The universe is fine-tuned to support life, including the possibility of life outside the Earth. Your example actually strengthens, so the website you sent me saying that there's other planets that can potentially support life, that actually strengthens the theory of fine-tuning, that the universe is fine-tuned to support life. So thank you. Perhaps spaceless, timeless, and immaterial doesn't quite spell it out for you. I'm sorry for also not using the word transcendent. This means the creative universe must be transcendent, which means outside of something else. So if he transcends the universe, that means he's outside of the universal time and space, right? So the thing about measuring something outside the universe is that there isn't any way to do it. So we cannot measure something outside of the universe that we presently live on, okay? So I'm not trying to claim that there's any sense of materialistic proof of God's existence, okay? I'm not making that claim. What I am saying is, and this is what the logical conclusions are, this is the fine-tuning argument, cosmological argument, all those types of things. Those aren't measuring sticks, those are logical and philosophical ways to give probability to such a being. Okay, I'll get into this in a second. Also, I didn't assert that spaceless, timeless, immaterial, unembodied mind was God. I never actually asserted that, but I'm glad that you see that it is God. I see. I'm glad to see that you see the connection. All right, so quick physics test. The first unit of law of motion is known as the law of inertia. So you probably know that. An object at rest stays at rest. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing here. Actually, you know what? Gotta go back here. So an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon. Wait, hold on. So like the mass of the universe prior to the Big Bang. Sorry. So what that means is the mass of the universe, was that at rest? Yes, it was. Okay. So an object at rest stays at rest. Okay. So the universe should be at rest. Okay. Like the mass of the universe prior to the Big Bang. And the law of inertia actually continues to say, and gives the caveat, unless acted upon by an external force. Okay? So the mass of the universe, which was so tiny, right? Scientists have figured that out. That's why the Big Bang, everything shrinks back down into something that you can't even see with the naked eye at rest, right? It was so tiny and it was at rest, you couldn't see it with the naked eye. So I just wonder, pray tell, what would cause it to explode? What have we learned? The universe was an object at rest. It is now an object in motion. We know that can't happen unless acted upon by an outside force. Okay? So it says unless acted upon by an outside force. So wait a second, what does that prove? Right? I can't measure it because it's outside the universe, but if we're understanding the laws of physics, what does that prove? It proves that there is a force outside of our universe. Well, it would appear so. And what is that force? I've not made any assertions just yet, but we can be very sure that there is a force outside of our universe. From that probability, we can go into the fine-tuning argument to demonstrate how unlikely it is that the universe would give rise to natural laws spontaneously. This shows intelligence in design. Think of a computer programming. system. It's more likely that a video game has a video game author or programmer than to think this video game gave rise to itself, right? And how much more complex is the universe than a video game? We call this intelligent design, and it is a logical conclusion. So we can logically conclude that our universe was sparked into motion by an outside force and assert that the laws of the universe were intelligently designed. Okay? What we can logically show is a transcendent intelligent designer. It follows that this intelligent designer is powerful since it sparked and organized our entire universe. It is intelligent and powerful, and we can logically assume that it had a choice in creating the universe, right? It had a choice, if it's intelligent, to create the universe or not. Right? Choice, key word here. Since the universe exists, we can assume that the intelligent and powerful designer wanted to make our universe. This still doesn't get us to Yahweh, right? But it's close, and I'll be happy to keep going if you would like to, but we'll keep going on with your statements. We can agree that there is free will from a so you and I agree there's free will. But from a naturalistic worldview, that's your worldview, you just can't make that logical assertion. There is a YouTuber named Cosmic Skeptic, and he gives an honest and consistent and logical conclusion about this because he is an atheist and materialist. Okay, so go and look up that. I am appalled by your uncle's story, but I also admire his bravery, which it seems to me that you find it to be stupid on his part. Are you condoning the actions of the Soviets? After all, it was their cultural and moral law, which apparently you would follow because morality apparently is just something that we all agree with. He should have just renounced his sky daddy, according to you, and saved himself the torture, right? Is what happened to him objectively wrong from your worldview? Or is it just the popular Western opinion that it was bad? Because I'm having a hard time figuring out why you can call what happened to him wrong, besides it just being your opinion. So your final quote, and this one actually freaks me out a little bit. Believe in me, love me, or I'll torture you forever. That's your God to me, and you can keep him. He has nothing but my contempt, my hatred, my scorn, and if he did exist, I would jump into hell myself rather than live in heaven with your monster God. Okay? There was something that you said earlier. You asked me not to say nobody chooses to go to hell. You said don't give me that argument of God doesn't send anyone to hell, people choose to go to hell. Remember that argument? I find it very ironic. So you told me not to use that. You said that you don't want me to use that argument, but you yourself, Madame, use that argument. And I just find that to be very, very ironic. Okay? But in all honesty, you are a human being, and I love you. Okay? And I pray that you see the righteousness of God and his love. He didn't punish anyone for being innocent. Just because evil exists alongside goodness, that doesn't mean that God is not sovereign. Your soul, Madame, is eternal. And it is. You can't possibly judge the fashioner of your soul this side of eternity, especially if there is no moral objectivity in atheism. Jesus loves you. God bless.